Welcome back. All right, we're going to bring you an exclusive here because the Daily Maverick has this morning published an explosive report in which the suspended CEO of the Independent Development Trust, that's the IDT, that's Tebogo Malaka, is exposed for trying to bribe the publication's journalist. That journalist is Peter Louis Myburg and has described in detail how Malaka, as well as her spokesperson, who's Phasha Makgolane, offered him 60,000 rand in cash to stop him from investigating irregularities at the state-owned entity. Now, the beleaguered chief executive and other officials were suspended with immediate effect on Friday following a forensic investigation ordered by Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson. That probe looked into a more than 830 million rand oxygen plant tender. Now, before we chat to Myburg about this week's and months-long investigation, actually, and the exclusive report, let's just take a look at an excerpt from the footage captured when he met with Malaka and Makgolane this past Sunday. Watch this.
After we'd spoken about the house and some other issues, Makgolane and Malaka got down to the day's real business. The IDT spokesperson pulled out a white Dior shopping bag stuffed with 200 rand notes and placed it on the table. This while his suspended boss sat looking on. I asked them how much money they bought for me, and they said it was 60,000 rand. But they also intimated that there would be more money coming my way if I dropped my investigation into Malaka's house. After the cash had been placed on the table, I casually photographed it for our records. Next, I duly informed Malaka and Makgolane that I wouldn't be taking the alleged bribe after all. I told them that it had always been my intention to get them to present me with the cash, and that I had never intended to take it. And then just like that, our meeting was over. I promptly stood up and left. Makgolane and Malaka, meanwhile, were in a hurry to get out of there too. At roughly 2 p.m., they got up and left the restaurant area. So, what then of Malaka's waterfall property, the issue the IDT CEO so desperately wanted to bury?
Well, there's much more to this expose, and let's chat to the man who uncovered it all, Peter Louis Myburg. Peter Louis, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Let's just talk about the situation. I mean, not so long ago, you had released that report on the suspension then as well of Tebogo Malaka, the CEO of the IDT. Let's just give the audience at home just a full picture on how we got here.
Yeah, good morning, Arabile. Yeah, so look, our work on the IDT has been, coming since October last year. We looked at that 800 million rand oxygen plants contract and exposed several shortcomings in that bid process, and that then led to the PwC report, which ultimately, culminated in a Malaka suspension, provisional suspension at least, or precautionary suspension, which was announced on Friday. So while all of this was happening, the PwC investigation into the oxygen plants contract, I'd been looking into something entirely different relating to the IDT and Ms. Malaka. It involves a IDT contract, and it also appears to be linked to a property that is being built for Ms. Malaka in Gauteng. So, on the one hand, the PwC report was being concluded into, allegations we raised earlier, but I was now looking into an entirely different IDT contract. And then midway through my investigations into this other IDT contract, I was then contacted by Mr. Makgolane, Phasha Makgolane, the IDT spokesperson, and that then set in motion the meeting that then took place on Sunday between myself, Malaka, and Phasha Makgolane here in the Western Cape.
With this having happened then, I mean, that meeting as we've just watched it, is them still wanting to offer you the money despite already being provisionally suspended and you having already written about them? What was it they were trying to actually block off? Was it a further story? Was it this story? What else was there that you had that they had wanted you to stop writing on?
Yeah, so you've got an opportunity to, to build a little bit of momentum for one of our upcoming investigations. So the issue that prompted Ms. Malaka to offer this bribe, this will be exposed or unpacked in an upcoming Daily Maverick investigation that we will release next week. So that relates to a upmarket property inside a security estate in Gauteng that by all indications is linked to a top Gauteng businessman, a very prominent businessman who also had an IDT contract when Ms. Malaka was CEO of the Independent Development Trust. And by all indications, this was the issue that Ms. Malaka so desperately wanted to quash, and then certainly it is very desperate actions for somebody who's already suspended on account of a prior issue. But ultimately, I believe that's because this next issue that we will unpack is even more compelling and even more troubling than her involvement in the oxygen plants issue.
What did the now suspended CEO, Tebogo Malaka, actually say to you post this video? Have you had any communication with her, with the spokesperson, Phasha Makgolane, as well? And especially knowing that you would most likely show this video and, of course, the article that comes with it.
No, yes. So we took a strategic decision that all communications after the video, to get their comment, their right of reply, that would be directed to them via our editor, via Daily Maverick, and not personally from myself, just given the circumstances. There's only been one attempt post the video shooting or the recording where Mr. Makgolane tried to phone me, but I did not answer the call. So all communications now happen sort of on an official level between the publication and the affected parties. So I'm no longer in direct contact with them.
Yeah, so a right of reply is out for both Malaka as well as Makgolane then as well, but that is to Daily Maverick, not necessarily just yourself, correct?
Correct, yes, yeah. So they were given a fair warning of the publication day.
Yeah.
Also in relation to the upcoming report for next week. And yeah, they have not yet used the opportunity to offer a rebuttal or context or comment or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, the original matter is with regards to that oxygen plant then of more than 830 million rand then as well. Have you had any commentary from Minister Dean McPherson thus far in relation to everything that has gone on post that, of course, following his decision to suspend Ms. Malaka, and of course the articles that have happened thus far, and any conversation you've had with regards to this video itself then with Tebogo Malaka as well?
Yeah, look, no, so I've not really been, the decision to suspend Ms. Malaka actually occurred on Friday.
Yeah.
As we were still, and there was the announcement and the press conference by the minister. Because we were still putting the final touches to, the planning for this meeting I would be having with the IDT CEO, I wasn't really focused on the oxygen plants issue anymore. So I've just been following through the news, the decision to suspend Ms. Malaka and some of the highlights from the PwC report.
Yeah, I know you're alluding to another article that you said you would be releasing then as well in about a week's time. But in this time that you had been speaking or had been trying to find out more about the oxygen plant then itself as a previous article to getting to this point of being offered the finances as we see in this video, what was it that you could tell was a key part of this? Was this just something that the leadership was involved in, if you know it all? Or is this something that perhaps went a little bit deeper within the IDT?
Yeah, look, so firstly, unfortunately, the PwC report has not been released for public consumption. We should just keep that in mind. So the minister's office took legal advice from PwC that because it's now a criminal matter, the oxygen plants issue is now the subject of a Hawks investigation, and that the PwC report would then figurate within this Hawks investigation. They did ultimately decide not to release the PwC report, but instead release a couple of the findings relating to the PwC's probe. And just gleaning from the findings, it looks like at that point, the most prominent findings involving Ms. Malaka just relates to her position as a CEO, who would be the accounting officer of the IDT. And there were very crucial shortcomings in the bid process, pointedly shown to Ms. Malaka. That's the issue about the SAPRA licensing, for instance. The main bidder did not have a health products regulatory authority license in order to distribute medical equipment like oxygen plants, and which was very clearly communicated to Ms. Malaka, yet she's still in a role as the CEO, pushed for the signing off of this contract, despite the fact that there were these shortcomings in the tender process. And of course, from a taxpayer perspective, the contract ballooned from 200 million rand to more than 800 million rand.
Yeah, yeah.
And she also would have been involved in greenlighting or signing off on that contract, despite the
100%.
massive ballooning of the costs.
Peter Louis, just as a final question, your security as well, just with relation to this, has that been threatened at all?
At this point, we are just taking caution. There's nothing, concrete that's been communicated to me, but we're always vigilant and remain careful in times like these.
Yeah. All right. Peter Louis, Myburg, appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing this one with us then. Indeed, that exclusive story with regards to the IDT now suspended CEO then, Tebogo Malaka, and the offering of funds then to the investigative journalist at Daily Maverick, Peter Louis Myburg, for the non-release of a few stories then. Now, the Daily